Welcome to what I'm hoping will be a handy-dandy guide to help busy teachers have their say on the draft learning matrices and other resources for NCEA Level 1. You may or may not have received an email today that was inviting you to give some feedback on the Level 1 NCEA subjects as they stand at the moment as part of the NCEA review of standards. I'm just really keen to support busy teachers, finding quick ways around giving robust feedback. I think it's really important that as many teachers as possible get involved in this process. So the email you see on screen, you may have seen, there was an invitation sent out this morning letting people know that there is an opportunity to give feedback on some of the Level 1 NCEA subjects that will be available in 2022, and that you have an opportunity to give feedback through the online questionnaires until the 19th of April 2021. So this work is well and truly underway. And I think there is a really important opportunity for everyone to get involved, to get across what changes are being floated and get amongst it. So as a little bit of background, you will of course know that we're in the midst of an NCEA change program, and we are currently going over what we call the review of achievement standards. If you go onto the NCEA Education website, you'll see there's a whole lot of information that gives you the background of what is being reviewed and why, and you can see also this timeline that's available. We are, of course, in 2021, and so this is the year where the Ministry of Education is committed to identifying those learning area big ideas and developing learning matrices for each of the key subjects, and they are drafting Level 1 achievement standards and assessment activities. Now, you might say that we're in a time where Level 1 is becoming less important than ever, and actually NCEA shouldn't drive what we're doing in our schools. But I think we've got to be really careful. The reality is we're developing a structure and an approach to NCEA that will flow through into Level 2 and Level 3. And as we know, whether we like it or not, assessment design does absolutely affect what we focus on in terms of our teaching and learning. And I think there's some really interesting opportunities raised here, but also some interesting questions we could be asking about things like the significant learning and what they actually represent in relation to the NZC and the fabulous New Zealand curriculum as it stands at the moment. At present, we have achievement objectives in each of the learning areas and subjects, and I would suggest that what is being presented here as a significant learning looks like it might be replacing what is in the NZC. So I think we need to make sure that we engage with this process and give feedback whilst it's being invited. Now, it would be tempted to jump straight into the feedback form, and the way that the email is designed, it does encourage you to get straight into the feedback questionnaire. Although there are also instructions that suggest the best thing you can do is engage with some of the subject pages. So my suggestion is that actually it can be quite useful to create a bit of a template. So there are questions that sit within the survey, and I will share this Google Doc as a template that you're welcome to make a copy of and borrow. This simply outlines the sort of questions and things they want you to think about when you're looking at each of the subjects and each of the sort of areas that potentially are going to be assessed in those subjects. So you're welcome to make a copy of this Google Doc and use it as a mechanism for gathering notes as you look more closely at the subject area that you're most familiar with. So most of us will be jumping into an area that we're probably most closely linked to. So in the email you get taken to this page. It gives you a link for completing the survey in Te Reo Māori, and it gives you a link for completing the survey in English. Down below, they have a list of all of the confirmation of the NCEA Level 1 subject list for the NZC. So this is what we know is up for being delivered at Level 1 as part of the National Certificate of Educational Achievement. And then, of course, you can jump through to the list of NCEA subjects. And that will take you to this page, which will give you hyperlinks into the different areas that you might be interested in pursuing. So my hot tip is that you make a copy of this Google document, so you've got a place to take some notes as you look more closely at your subject of choice. So I'm going to choose physical education. So we've got physical education here. Now, what's important to recognise is that there's many parts to this page. So this is the physical education page. It gives a description of what physical education is about. It summarises the big ideas and the significant learning covered, and that overarching big idea there as you scroll down the page. What's important is you realise that there's many parts to look at. So you have the PE learning matrix, which you can download there. And that will open up a document that looks like this. And this is where you see a bit more of the specifics unpacked around the big idea and what they class as significant learning. So you will see that it's outlined against curriculum level 6, level 7, and level 8. So that's what we usually align with level 1 NCEA, level 2 NCEA, and level 3 NCEA. And there's a series of what look like achievement objectives outlined there. So that's really good for you to be aware of and to have a really close read of sometime soon. Once you've had a really good close read of that, you can click through to the teaching page, and that will give you another view there. And that gives you examples. So when I've clicked through the different subjects, you will see that there's either 2 or 3 outlines of potential courses that you could design. So these are designed to give you different versions of what a course could look like using the significant learning that they've outlined. So you'll see there that you've got the learning focus, you've got the curriculum strands, you've got the significant learning, and this is an example of how you could deliver that curriculum or work towards getting prepared for that NCEA focus of significant learning over the 4 terms. So that is outlined there and worth a really good look. So have a look at the different outlines that you have made available to you. And then if you click through to assessment, you will see that there's a matrix there that unpacks what the 4 standards would be that are on offer. So as you will probably know, they have determined that there will only be 4 standards at each level. So at level 1, there is 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4 for every standard. And 2 of those is predetermined to be internal and 2 are predetermined to be external. And those external standards may be an externally assessed portfolio, other externally assessed work, or maybe end up being an exam, depending on the subject that you're looking at. Make sure you have a really close look at these. It's really important to consider what are the ramifications of only having 4 standards. They are designed to be broad, they are designed to be inclusive, they're designed to be as flexible as possible. And do they enable you to sort of design the course of your dreams is the question that I'd be asking myself. So you can unpack the standards there. Now that there are only 4 standards, do you feel like it reflects what the course is about? Are these going to give you an opportunity to assess what's really important in your subject? And then the 4th one just talks about the NCEA glossary. So for some subjects, this is absolutely jam-packed. In PE, it appears to be no specific terms that they feel like they need to unpack in their subject glossary. I know, for example, within the English subject area, there's a whole lot of terms that they have unpacked there. So I guess my suggestion is that you make yourself a copy of this template, you go through and have a look at and choose the subject of interest. Make sure that you look through all 4 tabs at this point in time. And then I would suggest you go back to the document and you answer those questions. Is the content clear? Is it useful? Is knowledge covered? Are the explanations clear? Do the course outlines help you understand the learning matrix and assessment matrix, how they could work together? And most importantly, I think, an opportunity for comments and recommendations. this is what the feedback page looks like. It's going to ask you some introductory questions, and then it's going to give you an opportunity to click through on the subject of your choice. And when you get there, interestingly, it gives you two options. You can say that things are on the right track, or you can say it needs minor amendments. And, there's part of me that wonders why there isn't an option for needs major amendments. Maybe that's not on the table at this point in time. But you can give on the right track or needs minor amendments. I would suggest that one of the main things you can do is take advantage of this glorious box at the bottom and make your comments and make your recommendations and make sure your voice is heard. I think we run the very real risk of people finding themselves very busy and tired. It's week 8 of an 11-week term, and this closes very quickly, and you might not get round to giving feedback. And then what happens further down the track is that this gets a stamp of approval as is, and potentially we miss the opportunity to give the feedback as we might. So I just think it's on us to take the time to really have a look at what's on these pages, make sure we give really robust feedback, because what is established as a set of protocols at Level 1 will undoubtedly flow through to Level 2 or Level 3. I'm going to be honest here. I also have a real concern about what this actually means for the New Zealand curriculum. Because I look at these pages, and I don't know about you, but I look at things like the significant learning, and I look at how the significant learning is unpacked at levels 6, 7 and 8 of the curriculum. And I wonder what the relationship is of the second significant learning to the AOs that already exist in the NZC. I don't know about you, but I love the glorious flexibility of the New Zealand curriculum as it stands at present. Does what we see here threaten that? Maybe it does. Maybe you don't believe it does. I think whatever your personal view is, it's really important that you share it. So I'm not trying to suggest that you fight back if you don't think there's a reason to fight back, but I do invite you to make sure you take the time to respond and to give feedback when we have the opportunity to do so. You will see that not only do you have the opportunity to give a response to introductory questions, that's where you answer questions about your context. You can also respond to your learning area of choice or learning areas of choice. And there is also worth taking up the opportunity to provide some additional feedback. So if you go into that additional feedback, you can give them some feedback on their survey design. But I would also think this is a really neat opportunity for you to give feedback about the process. How are you feeling about the NCEA review of standards at present? Do you feel like it's capturing a genuine sort of spread and representation of diverse voices? Do you feel heard? Do you feel like you're actually across of the ramifications of the review of standards as they stand at present? I think it's a good opportunity for us to really engage. I applaud the Ministry of Education, and I applaud the Review of Achievement Standards team for the work that has gone into this feedback process. I just really want to encourage each and every one of you to take the time to read what is planned at Level 1, even if you don't feel like Level 1's particularly relevant to your context, because there is no question what is determined at Level 1 will flow on to determine the approach that they take with Level 2 and Level 3. And before we know it, this is going to rubber stamp how we assess our young people when, in their final 3 years or final 2 years of their high school education. So anyway, I hope this is of use. I will, of course, share a link to the feedback template that I've created here, if that's useful to you. Please feel free to share this video with anyone within your school or community context. Please do encourage everyone to participate in what I believe is a really genuine opportunity for us to participate in the review of achievement standards. And once again, I thank the Ministry of Education and the opportunity that they have provided us in giving response to what is happening at present at Level 1 NCEA. So I encourage you to get amongst it. Happy to facilitate discussions on Disrupt Ed. If people are interested, just let me know. Have a fantastic evening.